preparing to live stream your meeting.
It says it's already live streaming on YouTube.
Really? Setting up your meeting for YouTube Live.
It's now streaming live.
Okay.
Ready.
Now,
you have 200 viewers. Should I get the music? I have the music
now,
ready.
Hold on. Wait.
I know.
Relax.
Gotta write stuff.
I gotta ask for permission. Copyright laws.
Ooh.
Really? Setting up your meeting for YouTube Live. Okay.
It's now streaming live.
Okay.
Ready.
Now, hold on a second. Why is this not working?
Okay.
Okay. Now pressing record. Let's get started.
Okay.
I think we're ready to start.
Sorry?
We're ready to start.
Music. This is what happens.
Can you show us your phone so we can really see how this works? Welcome to From Your Mouth to God's Ears podcast with Rabbi Yisroel Bernath and Rabbi Tzvi Hershkowitz, aka Chowenface. So happy for you to be here.
You go first. You started speaking. I interrupted.
No, I was just doing like a nice intro, voiceover thing.
Well, it's the week of Acharei Kedoshim, and
isn't that what they say after everyone passes away?
That they're holy, that they're Kedoshim.
That after they pass away, they're holy.
And then we Emor Bahar, we like say a mountain. I don't know. The thing should continue, right?
Right, it should.
We make a mountain out of the chukim. So I was trying to set up something for Yom Kippur, like a Yom Kippur song. I couldn't find one, so I just went with Rosh Hashanah. What are you going to do in Uman for Rosh Hashanah this year? Did anyone tell the Breslovers yet?
I don't think they got the message yet, but I'm sure they will eventually.
Yeah.
The memo didn't reach Uman yet.
Well, I haven't had any Breslovers knock on my door with books in a while, so.
But what I can tell you is, what are synagogues going to do for Rosh Hashanah this year? I wonder if they're starting to think about it.
Usually, isn't that like how they make all their money for the year, by charging like $800 a seat?
That is usually how they do it.
And it's the worst seats in the house, right next to the chazan. Like, who actually pays for that? Why would anyone pay that much money for a seat? I shouldn't be saying this. I mean, we have our community, congregations listening. What are we going to do?
I don't know. I will have to take it day by day, step by step. I have no idea. Right now, I don't like the social distancing. We are physically distancing, but we're not social distancing. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, this is the one time a week we're getting to chat, me and you.
I know, we never get to chat. It's amazing.
I know. That's why we have this podcast. We knew this was coming in advance. We are in a VM, and we prepared this in advance. But here in Quebec, they say they're opening schools May 19th in Montreal. What do you say about that?
They're going to open schools, but it's going to be like optional. So I don't know how open the schools are going to be.
Optional for the teachers or the parents?
I have no idea, but it's optional for whoever. So I don't know exactly what they're going to be talking about over there.
Well, are you going to send your kids?
I haven't really had an opportunity to talk to my wife since the announcement. So I have no idea yet.
Yeah, neither do I. All right, how was your week?
How was my week? So much going on. I had a funeral today. It's really crazy. Funeral during COVID. There was no shovel. So if we wanted to put dirt in the ground, sorry for being so morbid, but if we wanted to put dirt in the ground, we had to use our hands.
That was like you used your hands.
That was a really.
I thought you were going to go with hockey stick because it was in Montreal, but you went with hands.
No, but that's really what happened. We were using our hands, and it was very profoundly morbid.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was Gigi Cohen's father, right? I watched some of it on
Yeah,
Facebook Live. You spoke very well.
yeah. Gilbert Cohen. I would never put a funeral on Facebook Live, but I guess these are unprecedented times, so it didn't seem so crazy when I did it, even though on a regular day it would seem insane to put a funeral on Facebook Live.
Yeah. Although I must be honest, you're really terrible at playing the trumpet. Because he tried. I mean, it was pretty awful. He was trying to play like I think it was it came out sounding like the Mario tune. So I'm just letting you know, if Gigi is angry, you get calls.
I've never been known for my singing or musical abilities, so
Well, could you play the trumpet at my funeral, just like in case, in advance? Personal
you want a
request.
trumpet? You
No,
don't
I
want to
want you
shofar?
playing the trumpet.
Well, you don't want a shofar?
No, 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 I don't want a shofar.
Before
All right.
COVID, before
Huh?
COVID, speaking of Rosh Hashanah, so every year Rosh Hashanah, we go after we finish the prayers, we go around and we blow shofar for people who weren't able to get to shul. And usually, the first places we go are the old age homes that they ask us to come because the elderly people there can't get out to go to the synagogue. And so I have a tradition of taking a number of people. I always announce it in the shul, and there's always a group of people who every year, like it's become a tradition, we all go together. So right after I was done this past year, right after we were done and we're walking out, and Jason, who was with me, he turns to me and he says, Rabbi, in 50 years from now, when I'm here, are you going to come blow shofar for me?
This past Rosh Hashanah was insane. That there was a lot. There was like a flood,
There was a
thunderstorm.
flood. It was like Noah's times.
Yeah, because I
I'll never
also
forget
went somewhere.
Came back drenched.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, you stopped at my house.
Yeah.
Remember, it was like all the way. I had to loan you my clothes.
Yeah, I think so. Seems like so long ago. It wasn't that long ago, but it seems like forever ago.
I still want my socks back. They were good socks.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've used them as frisbees.
They were those kind of socks.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about this week's parsha. This week's Torah portion. Parshas, the Torah portions.
For some people, I'm sure there's some people out there that are really happy that they're not going to be any shul this week because it's a pretty long Torah portion together.
That's true. It is. Yeah, it's quite the Torah portion. Two Torah portions, and they're not even like that exciting. They're all about Yom Kippur, what was done like back when the Beis Hamikdash was around.
Yeah, it's like a lot of it is the part of the Yom Kippur prayers that everybody leaves by.
Exactly. Avoda. Exactly when everyone leaves shul. So like this is like half a year later. We're over half a year later. We're like, in case you missed this on Yom Kippur, well, boy, are we gonna have you in your seat for a while.
Exactly. It's not in case you missed it. It's because you missed it.
Yeah, that's right. And it's a full parsha. You always have these amazing speeches on them, so I figured I'd leave it for you, and the rest of it is going to be your Yom Kippur speech.
Well, I don't want to. I'm getting excited for my Yom Kippur speeches. I'm getting in general excited for having speeches back. I miss my sermons.
Why don't you do like? Do you do like the other rabbis, like before Shabbos, giving a sermon on Zoom for the community?
You know why I don't do it?
It's so lame. I'm sorry.
Because it's so lame.
I'm so glad you don't do it.
Hold on a second. In order to do
Who's watching before Shabbos?
You have to be like straight. Hello, everyone. This is your rabbi speaking. And today, this week's Parsha, the way we're going to talk about it is exactly this. Sorry, I'm not doing it right. Like this, so that you get dizzy, chuckling, and you can't even, hey, this is what I'm going to be doing. So all you're doing is looking at the video, and you're getting super dizzy as you're looking at the video.
And your kids in the background screech. If you're a young rabbi, have you seen some of those?
No,
like it's before Shabbos. The kids, like a friend of mine, he's a young rabbi.
Which Rebbitzin is allowing this? I mean, before Shabbos, even now in isolation, it's pretty busy in my house. Like my wife is like, "You're doing what before Shabbos?" I mean, one time I was able to get like a 5 minute little pump up little thing that I did before Shabbos, but it's
Doesn't
busy.
make sense. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Anyway, let's talk about the parsha. So the parsha talks about all the stuff that Aaron did, and so I was listening to like what's his name, Rabbi Yossi Jacobson class,
Okay.
and what he was saying was very interesting. And so I thought I'd share it here for those who have heard Rabbi Yossi Jacobson already. Just turn off this video podcast, and yeah, he was speaking very interesting. He was sharing
An impression of him.
I can't. I'm not good at impressions. You could probably pull off a good impression of him. Go for it. Go for it. Come on. No.
No.
Yeah, we gotta get Levi Goldstein in from.
Yeah. We have to get one of our impressionists in here.
Yeah.
So what was he saying?
He was bringing down a couple of okay. So historically, so then
How do you bring down things?
how do you bring down things?
Bring down is like one of those rabbi words that makes no sense.
It's a translation of like the Hebrew version, which also doesn't make sense. It's like bringing down from God. You're right. I was learning Masechah Shabbos Gemara and with someone, and it talks about how taking out is included with bringing in, and we were like, that works in English. Takeout, right? You bring in the takeout.
That makes a lot more sense. But
yeah,
how do you
sometimes it translates?
But
well.
You don't bring down the takeout.
No.
You live in a basement.
Huh?
Unless you live in a
basement, exactly.
Yeah.
Let me up your volume for some reason. Okay, there you go. So anyway, basically years ago, I did some research, and it turned out like there's some minor details that are different, which I'll mention. But years ago, there was you know who the Saddukim were, the Sadducees.
The Sadducees.
Huh?
Sadducees.
No. Sadducees, something like that.
Is that a Boulder Dash word?
It should be. The Sadducees, the Tzdukim, they believed. So everyone heard of the Tzdukim, right? They believed that they lived around the time right after Alexander the Great, right? Well, they didn't just live then. They were like founded, or according to the Gemara, okay, let me back up. At the end of the Second Temple era, there existed several groups of like within the Jewish community. Like, you know how now there's like Reform, Conservative, Chabad, Satmar, Breslov, right? There are different
labels are for shirts, not for people. I don't like labels. I'm post-denominational.
I hate all of them equally.
That's right.
Okay. So back in the day, there were also various fractions. I mean, we know like Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel, that was within the Frum community, but there was like not just the Frum community. There was divided into several groups. The two main groups in the Second Temple era, like towards the end of the Second Temple era, were we were known as the Perushim, the Pharisees, is the English word. And then because we believed the oral law, that was a big part of what the transmission of the oral law, which, by the way, going on a whole separate track, I'm doing some research on the Moranos, and it's really fascinating how they had their own, okay, I'll get there maybe later.
You have a lot of time on your hands.
I do. No, actually, that's related to work. Yeah, but so where was I? Yeah, and the other group was the Sadducees and the Sadducees. It's Tzdukim. I'll call them in Hebrew Tzdukim.
Are those similar to the Pharisees? I never understood the difference between the Sadducees and the Pharisees.
We are the parasites. We are the Pharisees. That's us. We're the Prushim. The Prushim were the people who believed in the Torah Sheba'al Peh, the oral law, that beyond the Torah, the Saddukim believed only in the Torah, like straight as it was given, no explanations. And they had some massive differences. Like they didn't believe in the afterlife. They didn't believe that anything like that existed. They took the 5 books of Moshe literally. Later on,
So,
the Karaites would do that.
right. But they put on tefillin. They literally like put like a sign on their arm and a sign on their head, right?
Well, that was the Karaites. We're not sure what the Tzdukim did, but basically it started. It used to be originally before the Greek influence. It was like there was a king and there were Kohen Gadol's, right? And no one else. There was no such thing as democracy, right? Everyone had to follow whatever was done by the king, or you're really in trouble. But then the Greeks arrived, Alexander the Great, and they heavily influenced the land of Israel, and so there was suddenly, the people could speak. Democracy was instituted a lot more than what it was, and so that's when it was the elite who were the tzdukim. They would not accept the oral law because it wasn't to their benefit, but the people followed the oral law, the traditions that were handed down through the centuries, and suddenly it became the rabbis, the wise people became the respected ones, and what would happen was there would be battles. At some point, it even got really physical. Like there's one thing where if you pour, like the pouring, Simchas Beis Shoeva on Sukkot. So on Sukkot, right, they would pour water.
Libation.
Yeah, the libation of the water. Who says libation?
I love that word, libation.
I know. My son libates. Yesterday, he libated his apple juice all over the floor. And
I feel for you.
It wasn't apple juice. Spoiler alert. So the at Simchas Beis, they would pour water all on the altar. And one time there was one of the Cohens. Who was carrying it was a tzduki, and they didn't believe in the carrying water ceremony, and he poured it on his feet, like to make fun of everyone. So they started pelting him with esrogs.
That is so cool.
And it was also sad because a pitum fell off of one.
So what do they do when the pitum falls off?
No, that's a modern joke. I don't know. That wasn't the point. The point was that there was like a serious riot, and the king got involved. The Tzdukim, they were battling. The Prushim and the Tzdukim were in general, and they're described by Josephus, like as they were the elite, not with the program with the rest of the nation, while everyone else was pretty much the Prushim. And so one of the big arguments that they had was so there were those two groups, right? But there was a third group that is called the Baitusim. Do you remember hearing about them? The Baitusim.
Oh, we can make some jokes about them.
Do you want to tell us one?
No, I just thinking that could be like the beginning of a joke. So a Baitus and a Sadducee walked into a bar. I don't know.
So the Baitusim, the Baitusim were, and there's opinions that they were like the Essenes, the Essenes, I don't know what the English, the Hebrew, I don't even know how you pronounce that word, but they're the ones in the Dead Sea Scrolls and Qumran, the caves, right? They like kind of live their life.
That's how we knew them. They're very famous.
Yeah, so they were like, some people say that they were the Baitusim, but that's nowhere proven at all. But anyway, so the Baitusim, they believed in a different thing. One of the big differences they had comes in this week's parsha. But before I go there, let me just tell you how there's a lot of how did the Tzdukim and Baitusim come about? And basically, our version in the Gemara says that they came about. Actually, not in the Gemara, in the Medrash, Officer of Nassim. It says that they came about through Antigonus Ishaichai. Remember that guy after Shimon Tzaddik?
Yeah.
So he had two students, Tzaddik and Baisos.
Speaking the ethics of our fathers.
Yeah. So he is the one who lived around Alexander the Great's time. So he had two students, Tzaddik and Baisos, who decided to take advantage of that, and they both started their own like offshoots of the religion. They taking advantage in a way of all the, I guess, democracy going on, and everyone could. So Antigonus Shishaicha was the one who was bringing the Prushim, continuing the tradition, but the others wanted the fame and wanted the power. So they went, like the Kohen Gadol at that point became very corrupt, that position. And tzaddikim baisos were part of it.
Did people buy that position at that time? Like they used to buy
Yeah.
it?
No, not during the time of Shimon of Alexander the Great, but afterwards, yes, they did. So anyway, the tzaddikim and
They used to tie a rope around the guy's foot when he went into the Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur, because what would happen is they would, I don't want to be too morbid about it, but a sad story.
people would be using hands to pour, because they couldn't afford shovels in those days. They just couldn't. Yeah.
Well,
and they didn't. Hockey wasn't invented. Sad times before hockey was invented. Anyway,
you're shuckling like those rabbis.
I am. So, and by the way, huh?
Why is the religious Jews always shuckling?
I sleep shuckle.
That is talent. That is talent.
I've been doing it for years in yeshiva. The teachers think I'm davening. Meanwhile, my eyes are closed. They have no idea. And then I snore or something, you know?
That's brilliant. I never tried that. But what's with the shuckling? I'm serious. Like, why does everybody do that?
I heard a lot of cool reasons to that.
Is it like to ward off the evil eye?
I heard a couple of different reasons. I heard one reason was because back in the day they were only able to afford one book, so they would shuckle so the students, you know, like would back and come in and back and come in. I heard that is one explanation, like a historic reason, which sort of makes sense. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it would allow other people to see more. Another reason is to not fall asleep. Like if you're just sitting there reading, you kind of like fall asleep. But if you're swaying, it gets you moving. It keeps you. And then other reasons could be simply the Hasidic version is like, we're like fire, our neshama, our soul, it's swaying back and forth like a flame.
That's a great example. I like that one much better, because I was thinking like, oh, so you don't fall asleep. I mean, you've read other books that were not Talmudic. Do you shuckle?
I shuckled, of course. You never Harry Potter. You never read it.
When you read Harry Potter?
Of course I do. What are you talking? I shuckle when I read like how to, what's that? Excel for Dummies. The only way to stay awake and enjoy it.
Oh, when you make a graph.
So that I don't do. Okay, well, you cannot you can't pull off except in Gemara, like this kind of thing. I tried it in real life, and that's why I still can't find a job. No one willing to hire me.
Because you always speak like this.
Yep.
Do you ever lane speak?
No, I don't. I sent you that video, right?
Yeah, it's amazing.
That guy is genius.
It is really amazing.
Yeah, that was hysterical. But I'd like to do like the yeshivish.
Yeah, and what is with the thumb? What's the origin of the thumb?
Hitchhiking? I don't know.
I don't know either. We got to find these things out. You remember years ago, we said that we were going to write a book called The Jewish Bathroom Reader, which was filled with all of these very important pieces of useless information that everyone needs to know.
We did. That was like in Ottawa.
I know, like, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago or something like that. Like, I don't remember how long ago.
And considering the amount of time people spend in the bathroom nowadays, that would have been a bestseller.
It would have been great. It's like all of the useless Jewish information that you never knew you needed to know. We can still do it.
We can.
Or any of our listeners can do it.
They can go to the bathroom.
How about this? One of our listeners wants to start it off. We'll collaborate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Our thousands of listeners.
Exactly. If anybody wants to start it off.
Because we're filled with useless information.
We even got our first review on iTunes.
We got a first review.
From me.
I got all excited and I wrote it on a little WhatsApp group. I wrote it on a little WhatsApp group. Oh my gosh, we got a review. Look at this. It's amazing. And like you were teaching a class. This is tonight. This is is when I saw it. And you were teaching a class. So me and Dan are freaking out. Dan's not available tonight. He's doing some kind of work. As if, by the way, as if he's doing work. Like, who's doing work right now in the evening? Whatever. Huh?
I think he's purposely avoiding us. This is a conspiracy against us.
Well, now we lost our Mizuman.
Yeah, we need our Mizuman and our Mizoinus.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, we need our third wheel. We'll have to. If anyone watching wants to join us, let us know in the comments. We're live on YouTube, right? So people could comment.
We are live on YouTube, and we're happy to send you the Zoom link right now, and you can be a guest in our show. That is how simple it is.
That is how pissed off we are at Dan.
You could take over Dan's spot.
Yeah. Do we have like a Hamaitzi? No, we don't want a Hamaitzi Rebbe like washing his hands.
Hamaitzi Rebbe. Someone has to bench every time. No way.
Yeah, not gonna happen. A Shahakal Rebbe is okay.
Yeah,
I'll go for a Shahakal Rebbe.
Shahakal Rebbe is like something about everything.
You want a Hagafen Rebbe?
You better believe it.
All right. So by the way, there are like probably 3 people watching live, right? So the chances are not that great.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay. So moving along. So the Tzedek and Baitus, right? And Baitus. And so they become the Stukim and the Baitusim. And the Baitusim have one thing different, is that the Torahs, this is so technical. It's like kind of a boring Torah, to be honest.
It is really boring, by the way.
I'm sorry. Usually it's more exciting, but I like finding history. I love history, and this is like related to history.
But it's like Devar Torah, it's history, but not really history, because you got to know a little bit about the background. Like, I wish you would go through the whole process. That would have been interesting if you went through the whole thing from the beginning and like give us the real history. I was actually thinking that it would be a really good idea to include like history elements in our podcast, because it's so interesting. But if it was actually history.
I was thinking that for this time we should have a dentist on our podcast.
Why?
Because it's like pulling teeth. You fell right into that. Okay.
I did.
But this is history. Okay, so let me share that historical.
You're shuckling and you're sing-songing.
Yeah.
Great.
So, Alexander the Great conquers the land of Israel, and things change, right? Like I said, it goes from more or less monarchy to suddenly a lot more democracy. But then Alexander dies early, so we come under the Seleucids. I actually today came across I was reading I always go off subject, but I was reading about a castle in Bulgaria where the guy who it's like on top of a cliff. It's gorgeous. I saw a picture of it and I was just like, okay, I got to know what this is. It's called like something like Calcatia or something like that. And it's got so this is where the guy who came after Alexander the Great, but he was in charge of Macedonia, that area. He died when he fled from a revolt and hid in that castle. That was what made it so exciting historically for me. But it came with a map of where everyone who succeeded Alexander, the parts that they took. And Seleucid took the greatest part. He took like the whole Middle East, like all the way out east into Afghanistan or something. And, the whole Iran, Iraq, Syria, Saudi Arabia, like all of that was Seleucid Empire that lasted for, and then there was like, that lasted for some generations. And during those generations, there became a lot of the Hellenists. Jews got really excited because with the Hellenistic way of life, which was exciting. It was very different. It was very based on the human body, and there were gods. It was a lot more exciting. And eventually, the story of Hanukkah happened, and that was a big catalyst because I think before that, Hellenism, was drawing the masses. But then when they really threatened our religion and when things got really nasty, which Hanukkah, by the way, was wars between Jews. It wasn't like between Antiochus and us. But we just sucked him into our battles. It was internal battles between the Hellenists and the and us and the Prussian.
Wasn't a pretty moment in Jewish history, that's for sure.
Huh?
Wasn't a pretty moment in Jewish history. It was not nice.
It was not a pretty moment.
Civil war. It was a civil war in the Jewish community.
Yeah, and the Prussian won. Actually, Yochanan Kohen Gadol may have been the Kohen Gadol at that time, either right before or maybe after. somewhere during that time, he became a tzduki at the end of his life. And he's considered one of the greatest Kohen Gadol. But anyway, so this Baitusim, let me just get through what I was actually trying to get to, because I'm not sure where to even go in the history, but the Baitusim had a thing where, you know, the Ketores, which is the like incense that they would bring inside the Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur. So when they would do that, there was an argument over when they would like put it like on the fire, so like that there would be like smoke of the Ketores would go up in the air, because at that point it would be really delicious smelling, right? There would be good smells going around.
Reach nefilach.
Yeah. So let me see exactly where it is. Oh boy, somewhere over here. Yeah, the lakach malaya machta. He would take a pan of burning coals from the altar, and a double handful of ground incense. They would grind it very thin, and he would bring it into the pareches. Pareches is like into the Holy of Holies, right? He would place the incense on the fire before God, so that a cloud of the incense covers the ark's lid that's above the tablets of the testimony. So, in other words, when do you think they put the fire on it? According to this, after he arrived in the Holy of Holies, right?
He was already in the Holy of Holies, right?
Right. In other words, he took it outside. It says over here, he went past the curtain, and then he put it down, and there was, he put it down, and suddenly there was a lot of smoke, and the whole place smelled nice, right? So that was what the Prussian believed, but the tzdukim, the Sadducees argued. Not the tzdukim, the Baitusim argued. They said that it all happened. The smoke happened before entering the Holy of Holies. That was what they said. And their proof was that God said that he will be inside the cloud, and that's before. So that was how that was their big argument. Now it seems like a stupid argument, right? So this is where now can you do a Yossi Jacobson impression?
No, I don't have it. I don't have it in me. You have to really have that kind of passion in order to do that kind of impression.
That was excellent. That was legitimately good. So then he goes into a whole thing on the spiritual side of things, which to me not as interesting, but it was like about how, you know, like the Baitusim believed that it was outside, that you have to go out into the world, and you have to over there, you have to hide your Yiddishkeit. Sometimes you have to, you don't have to be proud. You have to hide. When you're in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, you come in, that's the place. But we hold differently. That was his point. Anyway, that's pretty much the part. I'm going to close the book here. What do you have to say about that?
So what's your takeaway from that? That's what I want to know. Like, what is your takeaway from all that?
My takeaway from all that is that, well, to me, the most fascinating part was coming across, after I listened to his thing, I went to look up about this whole argument. And I think I mentioned this already a couple of times, but I like the take about how democracy changed everything. How before there was democracy, there was like, you didn't have all these groups. It was kind of like, you had to follow whatever the king decided. And some kings went against God, and some kings went with God. But then there was no longer any king. There was like the Greek king, right? Or that we were all just subjects under. But everyone had that a say, right? Like it wasn't democracy like today, but it was a lot more than it was. And I really thought that was interesting perspective as to why Hellenism suddenly grew, and why suddenly there was the Tzdukim show up and the Baitusim, right?
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting.
So looking at this week's Torah portion and all of the various intricate laws that are around the Cohen's work in the temple. It just seems like so many details. You know, if I would ask, and a lot of students in the past have asked me this question, you know, why all the details?
I think that's like your number one question from students. But yeah, I'm sure people, it's one of those.
Not a number one question, but it's definitely a question that I get. Oh, why all the details? Like, it just seems so intricate.
Tie your left shoe before the right.
No, but that's not only that. I'm talking about even look at this week's Torah portion.
When you cut your nails, this, then this, then this, then this, then that.
That is the Jewish way of cutting your nails.
Yep. There's a Jewish way for everything. So what do you answer them? What do you tell them?
I tell them that
We're OCD.
What?
We're OCD. At some point, the OCD people just took over Judaism.
Well,
That's what I would tell them. Lulav, 3 to the right, 3 to the left, 3 forward, 3 up, 3 down. Washing for bread, 3 here, 3. Wait, I wasn't washing for bread. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're OCD.
You know what try to make. My wife was making blintzes. She's getting into these different moods. She was making blintzes.
Cheese
Try to
blintzes?
make, huh?
Cheese blintzes?
Cheese blintzes.
Okay, does she deliver?
Uber Eats. So, and try to make a cheese blintz without, but you leave out a couple of things, like, I don't know, some cheese. Just leave it out. You don't need all of it.
Okay. You could have used a different example of what to leave out. You left out the cheese. The cheese is one of the main ingredients. We're not talking about the cheese here. We're talking about fingernails. The cheese would be like, forget to wear, I don't know, don't put fill in.
I once heard, it's like one of these standard classical examples that were given in yeshiva about this guy who used to be a servant or a work in the house, a very wealthy man. And they brought out a blintz, and the blintz looked so good. So he went home to his wife and he said, I want you to make a blintz. She said, well, get me the recipe. So he gets the recipe. So she says, flour. Okay, we have flour. Oil we have. Yeah, that's good. Eggs. I mean, who has eggs? I don't have any eggs. That's for rich people. Okay, I'll leave out the eggs. Cheese. I mean, cheese. That's for rich people. Who has cheese? So finally, he's waiting for his wife to make this cheese blintz. He's going to feel so rich, this guy. Sits down. His wife serves him the blintz. He tastes it, looks up, says, I don't know what the rich people see in this. It's not very tasty.
Good stuff. Yeah, well delivered. By the way, that brings to, like, as you were saying it, I was thinking, like, eggs and cheese belong to rich people. Like, we're so wealthy today. People complaining.
So wealthy. We have no idea. One of the things I have to say that this whole COVID thing has really brought out, at least in me, is just appreciation for simple things. Like the desperate need that we have for relationships that we just take for granted.
Yeah. So desperate indeed that we would even sit down on Zoom once a week to make a podcast for an hour, to even talk sometime. It's got me so desperate, I even opened up a safer.
Yeah, but that's the point. Isn't when you learn, you're supposed to have the safer open, but you don't actually look at it?
That's a good sign. You know that you're, or a bad sign. In yeshiva, it's a bad sign.
What do you mean? You got to solve the world's problems. And there's a lot of problems to solve right now.
But again, I say it again, a lot of people don't have jobs and they're complaining and everything, but like there's so much like that we are rich. Like I could wake up in the morning, walk 10 steps and turn up, just twist something, and water from deep in the earth will just rise up into my hand, right? Like I can drink water. I don't need to carry it. I don't need to pay someone to bring me fresh filtered water. By the way, people in New York City, this doesn't apply to you. But they don't have fresh water. Like
serious things.
Drink your tap water.
There are serious things going on, but for the average person, I think that it's just amazing how fortunate we are and the society that we live in, and we just take it for granted.
Yep. You can walk down, like, I don't know, 10 blocks within 10 blocks, like I don't know, within a 20-minute walk, you can arrive in a location where for like the work of an hour, you could buy fresh fruits and vegetables from across the world.
How amazing is that?
We're rich, even though we're not working. I'm working full time. You're also, right?
It's all about it's all about narrative. Every life is about narrative. It's how you look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Sorry, I had to have that serious moment there for a second. Okay, I'm done with seriousness.
No, it's good to have some seriousness. I'm in there. It's good to have that. By the way, just a little update. You know how last week you announced your book?
Yeah.
So this week I got a bit of an announcement. I'm working with Torah Treasure. I'm putting out like a little series, a kids series. Well, hopefully it'll go well. Hopefully it'll, but I'm actually working directly with the animator. So hopefully this time it'll go.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Like a juggling series?
No. It's like a kids series, like 5-minute episodes.
Fantastic.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Look,
We did together for him a project. That was fun. Remember?
yeah, that was really fun. We had a really
If
good.
it works out with this animator, he told me that he might use this animator to animate the other thing if it works out.
The other one that we did.
Yeah.
Well, if you're doing anything, you need a voice. I will be very happy to lend a voice to any project.
That's a good idea. I should put you in touch with the guy from Torah Treasure. Torah Treasure is awesome. My kids watch it all the time. Let me put you directly in touch with him because you're very good with voices. He's looking for unique voices that are in quarantine. And if Sarah would be, if your wife Sarah would be willing to, and the kids for sure I know would be willing to, and you have recording equipment, I should definitely put you in touch with him.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm gonna ask him if he needs any other projects.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm definitely
You
yeah.
got-
And I'm up to chapter 6 of my book now.
Nice. Chapter 6. What are the 5 chapters called?
I can't tell you, but I can't tell you because I don't remember. No, I'm joking.
Do you still have like these people coming and filming you?
What?
You still have like these guys trailing you around?
Yeah.
Through your window?
Yeah.
Because one of them's in a tree outside my house with binoculars.
I know. I told him that we were getting ready for the podcast. So he was like, "Okay, I'm going over."
Well, it's weird. He's been here. He's been there every night for the past like 12 weeks.
Oh, that is weird.
By the way, something really weird. We play hockey in the like across the street, the parking lot of the arena. And every time we go, there's like this car shows up and this creepy guy sitting in his car just watching us play hockey.
People are in great need of social interaction. Why don't you invite them to play with you?
Well, first of all, you can. Hockey's not exact. Yeah.
That's a good point. Forgot about that.
But also I'm with my kids.
Yeah. That's strange.
Yeah.
That is strange. Wow.
All right, it's getting late.
It is getting late. I'm a little exhausted. I just finished a 2-hour class right before I did this recording. So
What was your class on?
my class was on Kabbalah. I did like the introduction, the history behind why of Kabbalah, and then Hasidic philosophy and how it started, and then went into the Kabbalah of love.
There's always the Kabbalah of something when it comes to Chabad, right?
I know it is.
You should do a class on the Kabbalah of toilet paper.
Yes, or lack thereof.
You know what would go right now? The Kabbalah of unorthodox.
Oh my gosh! Don't even. I figured at some point this would come up, and I don't know if I even want to open this can of worms of unorthodox.
Okay, the can of worms is not kosher, but it's opened all the way. I don't trust this kashrus, but well, I'm in. Let's do another hour of this. Come on. What do you got to say about it? Did you watch it? I didn't.
Did I watch Unorthodox? You see, this is how it works in my life. I don't have to watch anything to know all about it because I just listen to people talking. So I got the whole scoop.
Okay, but right now, let's be honest. The only people you could listen to talking are your kids. So why are your kids watching Unorthodox?
Oh, I've been watching all of these Zoom things. There's been so much out there about interviews and people talking. Today, the Forward had a whole panel of people talking about it. I got the whole scoop. The producer was there. The actors were there. I figured it all out just from the conversation.
Well, I wanted to watch it, but then I decided, you know what,
I mean, people
not interested.
people yeah, I agree also. I'm not, I mean, I'm kind of curious, I have to say. But people I spoke to have told me, it sounds so weird, but is that it was incredibly authentic, but at the same time, really played to a lot of stereotypes and a lot of tropes, which is really sad. I mean, it's hard to look at yourself in the mirror and be okay with it. So I think that's part of it. And I felt like that. I saw one episode of Shtisel, so I felt
I
like,
saw the whole Shtisel. Shtisel was amazing.
but I did feel like that. I mean, there's certain elements of it. I'm not saying that they're in the same category, but I think that there are, you become very self-critical when you look at something about your own community.
Okay, but at the same time, okay. So I spoke to people about it. I did not watch it, and if I would watch it, it's not doesn't interest me, to be honest. What people were telling me was a lot of things that were just like, okay, they got the look right, they got maybe some of the language right, but they were the Frum people who watched it were like 99% extremely offended, and many other people. I spoke to a couple of people who used to be Frum, and they were also like bothered by it.
They were bothered by it, really, even people who used to be Frum.
Yeah,
that's really interesting. Why?
Because of certain inaccuracies. It's like suddenly everything, when they leave the Hasidic community, everything is okay. All the problems that she had are gone. You know, it's just not real. They didn't feel it was real life. But then again, the people who I spoke to two people who used to be in the Frum community. We should get Eric on here. I'd love his take. Oh man.
Yeah, you know what? I would be interested to do a little panel on it, because I don't know, because
I didn't see it myself.
It would feel wrong to do something on it without seeing it, and I don't really want to see it. I don't plan on seeing it. So
yeah, no, but like I was told, like the sex, he's like abusing her, which like doing it when she doesn't want, which is something that.
Now you're gonna have to put explicit on this podcast.
Huh?
Now you're gonna have to put explicit on this podcast. We were trying to avoid that.
I was saying the Yiddish word between Finif and Zibin. It's Zetz.
Oh, Zex. Okay.
Yeah, and so so what should I say? Marital relations.
I don't know.
That's like a very rabbinic way of
putting it. It is.
Like the rest of the world would say making love, but rabbis say them turn it all into marriage.
Yes.
All right. So and also apparently the marital relations are done fully clothed, which again is not allowed. And it also doesn't bring up all the issues she has are like, basically it's the Satmar community that literally created all the solutions to those issues.
Yeah, you know? She officially, I think, is from the Satmar community in the film, right?
Yeah, and it's their community, Bnei Olam, Taharenu.
Yeah, and even I hear that the mother-in-law was giving her a lot of pressure, also to to move on with things, and like that would never happen. What?
To consummate the marriage is a rabbinic term. I'm just teaching you.
Consummate the marriage, exactly, and that would never happen. Like,
you know what? Even maybe that
more social pressure in the community for that.
That you could buy. It's just that I think that what really got people upset is that there was no Hasidic character who you could really who represented the Frum world, and you could really understand his side and identify with. I didn't watch it, so I can't.
Did you ever see Menashe?
I didn't. You did. You spoke on.
I spoke at one of the screenings. I really liked that film. That film was a really great film. That was very had such a beautiful, and apparently all the actors were real Hasidim. And I think maybe that's why there was such an authenticity to it.
Yeah.
So in the genre of Hasidic films, outside of Shtisel, I would definitely recommend the film Menashe.
Yeah. Yeah, there aren't many. The other one would be Oshpizin, right? That's another good one.
Ushpizin is old, and I mean, yeah, it's also very beautiful. Ushpizin.
Yeah. Would be nicer if they pelted him with a story game in there, but
Yeah.
Anyway, on that note, I'm getting tired, so let's get the music.
It's been wonderful. It's been real. It's been real wonderful. And now to the music. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for listening to us. We love your comments. Don't forget to like us on iTunes so I'm not the only one there with a like. And send us comments, ideas. If you want to be a guest on the show, we're interested and looking for some guests, interesting topics. And you can join our two rabbis in a show about nothing.
All right. Have a good night. Signing off.
Do I end it now? Oh, I guess I end it now. He's out. Okay. Good night, all.